The death penalty is a very controversial issue. There are many strong stands for and against the death penalty. There are many fraudulent voices when it comes to the death penalty movement. Many opinions are now accepted as facts by both the opponents and advocates of the death penalty. Those in favor of the death penalty will argue that it is morally reprehensible for a person to take another person's life, and it is even more reprehensible to have the state do so. Gandhi states, "After all, an eye for an eye will only leave the world blind." We are possibly executing the innocent. The facts show that between the years of 1973 and 2001, 89 inmates were found innocent and exonerated and escaped the death penalty by, in some cases, just a few hours. The death penalty does not deter crime. The U.S. has a murder rate 3 times higher than those in European countries who have completely exonerated the death penalty. Those who oppose the death penalty will argue that it is its most important issue. The U.S. executes mentally retarded people and children. These facts have taken into account in order for a person to be classified as mentally retarded. First, the person must have a below average IQ. Secondly, a person must have a difficulty coping in normal day-to-day activities and life. And third, the disability must be manifested before the age of 18, meaning before the crime, so that one does not try and fake being mentally retarded. This is where the strongest issues arise. Mentally retarded people are vulnerable and can be wrongfully convicted. They are easily influenced and susceptible during interrogations. This may allow them to confess to a crime that they did not commit. Most law enforcement officials are not trained in how to interrogate and properly question those who have mental disabilities, which can frequently result in offenders giving false confessions. They are not capable of understanding their legal rights, and in some cases do not fully comprehend the significance of waiving those rights. Their intelligence level is extremely complicated for them, makes it extremely complicated for them to stand in their own defense. For these reasons, the United States has held it that it is a violation of the 8th Amendment to execute those who are mentally retarded. If retarded people with a mental age of 5 could be executed, does this mean that we should execute those who are 5 years of age? This is what Justice David Scout argued in the Adkins versus Virginia case. This will now lead me to my next point, those who are in favor of the death penalty and why. Juveniles have found it in every way possible to manipulate the system. Having limited cognitive abilities because of age does not make you less blameworthy or more than non-retarded offenders. This sort of clinical assessment simply does not hold up for adolescents. Some juvenile defenders are capable of a sort of cold-blooded murders that in which the death penalty should be asserted. In reality, they must be assessed on an individual basis. Wherever the individual offender, whether an adult or an adolescent, if they cannot truly appreciate the wrongfulness of their actions, then by all means they should be spared the death penalty. On the other hand, if an individual, whether an adolescent or adult, can be informed of their moral decisions and they can be held fully responsible for those actions, then they should suffer the consequences of those actions. They should be fully responsible, and it shouldn't matter the chronological age. If a teenager plots like an adult, kills like an adult, and covers up their mess like an adult, then they should be held responsible for those choices just like an adult. In cases detailed in different briefings that I have researched, there is no magic in the number of 18, but some do find that there is. Just as there are adults who, for whatever reason, cannot fully comprehend the wrongfulness of their actions, there are adolescents 16 and 17 years old that surely can and take advantage of that. If we execute murderers and there is in fact no deterrent effect, we have killed a bunch of murderers. If we fail to execute murderers and doing so would in fact have deterred other murderers, we have allowed the killings of a bunch of innocent victims. I would much rather risk the former. This to me is not a tough call. This is stated by John McAdams. the murderers of Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena. There are 738 killers who were executed between the years of 1998 and 2007. They had killed between all killers, they had killed 1,531 people. This is an average of 2.1 victims per executed killer. If we abolish the death penalty, I should like to see the first step taken by my friends, the murderers.